welcome to Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John. That's Richard. And
Hi,
it's our
John.
it's our first bonus episode.
Yep. We got some exciting comments to bring to you.
So in case you missed it, in case you missed our episode on Monday, we announced that we're going to be doing bonus episodes every week, and this is the first one. They are going to be focused on viewer mail, and we also are going to have a special guest each week to tell us their underrated book of the week. This week, we've got David from Black Belt Comics on Instagram to tell us his underrated book of the week. If you have not checked David out yet on Instagram, it is blackbelt_comics. So definitely check him out. And Richard, waste not, want not. Let's get right into it. What's your first letter?
My first letter is from Jason Brownell.
Friend of the show.
Yep, big friend of the show. Wow, I should never comment before finishing the episode. 2 episodes a week. Yeah. And I got my Richard got his FF2. Man, that truly made my day. Congrats, Richard. That book is a true gem in any and all collection it exists in. Thank you so much. Yeah, FF2 was one of the high books on my radar. I've been looking for it. Came across it in a nice trade, so I could check that off my list, and I'm that much closer to 1 through 5 for Fantastic Four. So excited.
I'm jealous. I want a Fantastic Four run now. I'll get right on that.
Yeah, you get right on that.
I'll start with one. My first letter comes from the person calling himself John Doe. I'm sure that's his real name. Yeah, John Doe says, I enjoyed the video. Is there any chance either of you would be willing to give advice to someone looking to sell part of a collection to get back into the hobby? I have a whole Star Wars series where a good handful are valuable. Is it worth sending out the valuable ones to get graded, or just a better offer on the collection? Well, I think the first question is, which Star Wars series are we talking about? Are we talking about the Marvel Star Wars series? Are we talking about one of the 867 Dark Horse Star Wars series?
Yeah.
I think that's really what you need to look at first. If it's a lot, you're always going to get a cheaper price than what you would expect for a lot. And that's the purpose of selling books is a lot. You want to move them quick. You want to get them out of your hair. And you want someone else to take on that responsibility for cherry picking things and putting stuff up and taking the time to get it graded and post and things like that. If you're looking for a quick cash, do it as a lot. If you're looking to maximize everything and get every stinking penny you can, like Richard and myself, you're gonna pull those books, cherry pick the first Boba Fett, the last issue, Star Wars #1, #2, #3, #4, the first Jackson the Rabbit, all the important keys. And you're gonna send those off to, get pressed and cleaned and slabbed and graded. It's a long process. If you're looking for a quick buck, that is not the way to do it. If you're looking for big dollars, that is the way to do it.
Right. And the big issue with selling lots, anytime you sell multiple books, okay, so you have an audience of 1,000 people who want to buy comic books. You have one book. Out of that 1,000 people, maybe let's say 500 people are interested in that one book.
Mhm.
If you have 2 books you're trying to sell, now that 500 people turns to maybe 200 people. And as you add books, you narrow down the market of potential buyers. So always keep that in mind. It's easier to sell individual books than it is to sell a set, because to sell a set, you have to find that one person who is looking for all the books that you are trying to sell.
And you have to ship them. Don't forget about that.
Yes, shipping is a nightmare. Once shipping a single book is pretty tried and true. Shipping a long box or a short box of books is a nightmare you really don't want to get into unless you're making a lot of money.
Exactly. What you got next?
Yeah, speaking of Star Wars, I had a comment from Hardy Spence, who's Hardy Boy on Instagram. He was persistent. He reached out to us and contacted us on Facebook and on IG. So his comment is also Star related. When I was a kid in 2007, I collected a bunch of Star.
Wait. When I was a kid in 2007.
I know.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
I was standing in line for my first iPhone in 2007. I collected a bunch of Star Wars comics. I'm just now getting back into the hobby. a good handful of the Star Wars books are worth a decent amount. I'm sure they are. I'm thinking about getting 25 graded and using a portion to fund the hobby. That's a great way of doing it. Make
Mhm.
the hobby fund itself. I've been using the free site of Go Collect's website to gauge the value of what I have. Is that a good idea? There are a lot of resources out there, and I'm not sure which are the best. For example, Star Wars Clone Wars #1, which is a very, very valuable book, is 2250 on Go Collect for 9.8, but it's only $800 on Key Collector, which is another site
Mm.
that does pricing. Well, the thing to understand about those two sites is Go Collect deals with graded books. They have a system that goes through all the eBay sales and all the sales on do they do Heritage? They do a couple of other sites as well. Comic Link is the other one that they do. And so they take graded prices and then they aggregate those prices and then give you a an average of what a book of that particular grade will sell for. But those are graded books. The books on Key Collector, though, are ungraded books. So if you notice, they're divided into three tiers. You got low, medium, and high. The highs are the raw books that are near mint in condition, and the lows are the ones that are more reader copies. So you can't really compare the two of them. They're not apples to oranges. I will say, if you're selling raws, the prices on Key Collect are fairly accurate. I would be more comfortable using them as a guide because I always use eBay sold listings to determine the price of what I want to sell something for because that gives you an idea of what the current market is pricing a book at. But if I'm just looking at a guide, I think Key Collector is decent for the raw prices. Go Collect, on the other hand, has the same problem that another pricing site had, which is called Cover Price,
Mm.
where they take the price and they take it over a wide average. So if you take the average price of a book from let's say 2 years ago to today, if that book has not had a substantial growth over that period of time, it's going to be kind of on the middle end of that average. So let's take Ultimate Fallout 4 for example. Right now, Go Collect has that book for a 9.8 at about $1,100, if I remember correctly. I would buy them all day long at
Right.
$1,100. They're
Wha
going for about $33,000 in the market right now. And that's because they're taking the prices from 2 years ago when the book was selling for 9.8 was selling for $100. And they're taking the recent sales as well, and they're averaging it out, and it ends up at 1,100. So it's to me, it's not really an accurate source, but it does give you kind of a feel as to what the book is looking like, across the market.
I also think you have to really join Instagram, whether you like Instagram or not, create a dummy account, who cares? And just start following some of the big sellers on Instagram, like Elite Comics 11. You've got Super World Comics, Torpedo, things like that. And just watch and observe and see what things are selling for because a lot of those sales are highly significant and very wildly from what these other people are reporting because they're not being reported into any kind of central depository where they can grab that data from. So don't forget that because especially when something's reacting big like Joker #2 this week, here we are the day after new comic book day and it's already an $18 book on eBay and it's even wilder on Instagram. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on the Instagram stuff too.
Right. Exactly. There is at this point there are no websites that are as accurate as getting the live pulse of the market, and to me that is Instagram sales. Like John just mentioned, Elite Comics 11, Pre-Code Monster. There are a number of sellers out there who post prices so that they could sell books, and also just kind of give you a guide. Also, eBay sold listings. Search for your book, check the little box under advanced that says sold so you can see what the book's sold for, and that also gives you a guide as to how the book is going on the market.
Yeah, don't forget to click ended recently on that filter as well, because you don't want to just get a random assortment of stuff. You want to see the last sold prices
Right.
over some time. There's going to be some outliers. So don't just take the last sold price you see and go, okay, it's an $800 book. It just may be two people got into a PP match over a book.
Right.
So Don't fall for that as well. All right. Our good friend Brian Hackney is back and he says, I must say you guys are the most enjoyable comic show on YouTube. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I get to the end and I wish I had not binged all your back shows already. Well, you can always listen to them again. If you ever want to add a few more segments, I would keep watching. Well, here we are. We got a whole another episode a week, so we fulfilled that request. Keep up the fantastic show. One question: is there any time you would send a book off to be graded without pressing it? If it looks amazing, is it worth a press anyway? Just one question asked a couple of ways. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Brian, I think Richard and I are going to split the difference here. I say if you've got the know-how and you've got the material, it would not hurt to press that book no matter what when you're sending it off. Uh, I do it every time. A book does not leave this house to go to Sarasota until it's been squished. And that's everything, even cardstock covers, even embossed covers. It can be pressed. You just have to know how to do it with light pressure, things like that. If you are not comfortable doing it, then by no means should you be doing it. Stick with what you know. If you know how to press silver and bronze and straight ahead modern books comfortably, do that. But I don't let a book leave this house without being pressed. Richard, on the other hand,
I differed a little bit. Some of the sources I agree. Most books, to maximize their chance at a 9.8. I can't say guarantee, but to maximize their chance, a good press will remove small blemishes, small imperfections that maybe because of travel, even for an excellent quality book. So for the most part, yes. Um, there are some cases where I don't press.
mm,
For example, I got a book from J. Scott Campbell's website. It's a Black Cat #1. It's the Black Cat where Black Cat sitting like a French poster from turn of the century. It's a beautiful cover,
La
gorgeous.
Chatte Noire.
Le Chat Noir, yes, that one. I bought that right off his site. I actually have all of the books from his site for that series. I got lucky and got all. I think it's 9 books. This is the one I wanted to get graded. Unfortunately, the book was signed by J. Scott Campbell. I say unfortunately because it was signed, and now I want to get it graded. My choices are limited. If I send the book into CGC, it's going to come back with a green label, qualified because of the signature on it. So I ended up sending it off to CBCS, and you pay for them to verify the signature, to verify it was by that particular person. And I looked at the book. The book, literally, I did not even take it out of the mylar that it came from J. Scott Campbell's site. It's been sitting in my drawer for almost 2 years now. I looked at it. I decided I don't want to take a chance with that signature on the cover to do some harm to the book because I'm going to press it in some way. It was literally perfect. Sent it in. I didn't even think it wasn't going to come back at 9.8. That's how confident I was in it. And it did come back at 9.8, and it's sitting on my wall up there. Um, and and there are some cases like that with modern books that I will look at them and decide. I don't think I think a press anytime you press a book, you're introducing risk into the book, as I could tell you, because I have damaged perfectly good books because of like once I had a page flip over and got into the press, and now I've got a crease in the book. It was a happenstance, but it happened. So anytime you press, you introduce risk, and if you don't think that risk is justified, then don't press. Send it in and live by the sword, die by the sword. And in this case, it did. Book came back at 9.8, and I was happy.
Let me follow that up with I'm never scared to press a book with a signature. Just don't use humidity. Um, that's my comfort level. Richard obviously does not have that same comfort level, but if you're using silicon release paper and you're using the proper heat and proper pressure, you won't smear it and you won't do any damage. It's when people that don't know what they're doing. And again, I got to point you to Captain Mike with a K, Captain Mike with a K, and watch the pressing video for all the links in the description there. That is the way to learn.
Mhm.
Uh, but Like Richard said, if you're super confident and you think it's a great lesson on your grading skills, go for it and
Yeah,
see what happens.
absolutely. And I also have to mention, I am chicken when it comes to pressing modern books.
Yeah.
Silver Age books, Bronze Age books, you give me newsprint, I'll press that puppy all day. You give me the shiny paper that they have nowadays and all the little inserts that they put in modern books, like the digital copy and all that stuff.
Mm.
It just makes it such a again, it's risk. You introduce risk, and you have to decide if it is it worth that risk to accidentally screw up what was otherwise a really good book.
It is a learning process. And again, in the Captain Mike's book, it's PDFs basically. And I printed out big poster versions of the stacking layers needed for the different types of modern books. And I have them hung up by my press so I can quickly refer to them. So I don't have to go and look through the book every time. That's super nerdy, but it's paid off. I mean, you guys see my unboxing videos. Stuff comes back as 9.8, 9.8, 9.8. And I'm able to flip it and by my commandy number ones with the money I make. So, it's your comfort level. If you're not there yet, don't do it.
Yeah,
That
too
is
bad that
simple
we
as
didn't
that.
have a time machine where you could take a book, send it in, get it pressed, and see what it got graded, and then take that same book, not pressed, and send it in and see what
Yeah,
the grade came back.
exactly. Work on that time machine, Richard.
I
While
will.
you do that, I'll go on to the next letter by Bianchi 1885, who says, "You guys remind me of me." Uh-oh. I love your show format. I know moderns are on your agenda, but please focus on silver, bronze, and copper. Well, I don't disagree with you, but the show is bronze and modern gods. So, not to be snarky, honestly, I think we're always going to focus on the modern market, at least portions of the show, because it's so wild right now. How can you not?
Yeah, I frankly, yeah, I think we focus on what the market deems is hot. And right now, because of the Marvel properties that are out there, they're driving value in all these modern books. That's kind of where the interest is. And I think that's where the market really is focused. But at the same time, we do cover Copper Age books and we cover Silver Age books when they're appropriate. John is a huge Bronze and Silver Age guy. So
Yeah.
he's always pulling out, you know, some Silver Age book and using as a reference or as a source. So yeah, we definitely will not pass on being able to cover Silver Age, but right now the market is focused on modern. So we'll kind of talk about that primarily for now. But in the
I,
future, who knows what's going to happen?
I think what you're saying, Bianchi, is you want me to do the show by myself. I understand. I totally agree.
Are,
But
are
I've
we are we at that Sunny and Share point where where you guys leave me as Sunny?
just remember they got divorced and they came back together to do the show after they were divorced. So,
Okay.
it had a happy-ish ending, well, really skied into a tree, but we won't get into that.
Oh, I wasn't going there.
What's your next letter?
Okay, next is Solve for X in comics. Question: when a character's first appearance is in a graphic novel, not a comic book, which do you consider the first appearance?
Good question.
Yeah, very good question. And it happens sometimes. And I answered this question on YouTube, and I use the example of New Mutants because the New Mutants team was introduced in Marvel graphic novel number 4, which was a graphic novel, all black cover. If you've seen it, you know it's devilishly hard to get in high grade. But that was the first appearance of the New Mutants as a team. And to me, if the graphic novel is not an anthology or a reprint of some comic book, it's original content, then it counts as canon. And for me, that book counts as the first appearance of the New Mutants, and so I consider that to be the first appearance. That's really my yardstick. Is it new content? Is it a new story? If it's just a bunch of rehashes as some graphic novels are done, then it really doesn't count.
I do agree with that 100%. There is also the caveat that the format really keeps the value down. Some people don't like magazines. Some people don't like graphic novels. They're hard to store. You got to buy a separate box for them. CGC charges more to slab them. It takes longer to get the slabs back. There are a lot of headache. And I think that's why books like Marvel Preview #4, the first appearance of Star-Lord, are severely, severely underrated. Moon Knight, he had a whole bunch of solo stories in the Rampaging Hulk magazine that people just ignore, even though it's by the
Mhm.
same creative team that did the color comic. So people just don't want them. There are Jack Kirby books from the early Bronze Age, Spirit World, Days of the Mob, that are super hard books and great, and they're all Jack Kirby art from cover to cover. And no one really wants them or collects them or talks about them because of that format.
Mhm.
So I think that holds it down. Even though they are first appearances, the market kind of shrugs their shoulders and goes, meh.
Yeah, there are a number of first appearances in magazines, things like Judge Dredd.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a tough format. Anything that doesn't fit in the long box is automatically that much harder to find and grade, just
Yeah.
because people have difficulty in storing it.
Yep.
So it's a tough thing. And but like I said, if we're going by story and first appearance, if it is um, an original story, I think it counts for a first appearance.
All right. My final piece of viewer mail is from Bonkers. And Bonkers says, a Sleepwalker revival would be awesome, in my opinion. I made a casual reference to Sleepwalker that in a former episode that was not too complimentary, I don't think. That's the series that got me into comic collecting when I was younger. Now, the reason why I picked this one out, it makes a very important point. Every character is someone's favorite character. Even Quasar is someone's favorite
Right?
character.
Everyone take a drink.
Sleepwalker is your favorite character. So we have to remember that, people have preferences and they have their personal quirks and their things they like. And I think that's what's great about this hobby is that everybody likes something a little different. I buy Millie the Models and Patsy Walker books. Richard wouldn't touch those with a 12-foot pole. Uh, you know, Richard
Yeah.
has got like 8,000 long boxes full of Star Wars books. I have a big yawn. I
Doctor
think
Doom. I buy anything. I'm a sucker for anything with Doctor Doom on the cover.
yeah, I think I saw Return of the Jedi. I don't remember if I did. I know I saw Empire in the first movie.
Say
So,
so.
it just goes to show you
Oh.
that everyone's book is someone favorite and don't ever apologize for it. You fly that sleepwalker freak flag, fly it high.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody gets into this hobby through some vehicle, right? Unless you're a pure speculator or you're in it only for the money, something has drawn you to comic books. And what that thing is different for every single person. That's again, like John said, that's why this hobby is so exciting. You got Superman fans, you got Batman fans, you've got uh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fans. Everybody brings something to the table, and in my opinion, everyone is equal in in that collecting. In my opinion, everyone's equal.
My God, I love the new universe. Okay, so I have no right to be pointing fingers at anyone else for their taste level. What you have one more, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I've got one from Mando Music 86 from Instagram. Hi, I was hoping to ask you for a little friendly advice. I'd like to sell curated sets of books. My big current project is assembling the entire Null epic that's been shaping up since 2018. I have an almost complete Venom run and just about every tie-in locked in, plus bonus background books. And I have two questions. One, what's the best way to find buyers for this kind of thing? And two, most but not all of which I have are first prints, with a few second and third prints for some issues. Does that make a big difference for a project like this?
Ooh.
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit about this already for on a previous question. When you have a set of books, you've got a curated set of book, which is great, which means you put some time in and you found continuations of the story that may not be in the main storyline, especially for certain crossovers and things like that. It could be stories are outside of Venom, for example. So if you've got the complete storyline, that's great. the problem with selling it as a set, as we've already talked about, you have to find the right audience for it. It's very easy to sell a Venom number 3, the first appearance of Null. It's much more difficult to find a buyer who's going to buy the entire run of books. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's not possible, and who knows, with Venom and Null, and especially with the heat behind the characters now. Johnny Cates is just wrapping up his run. There's an audience for this kind of product. Where would I sell it? Well, first of all, I would look at establishing a relationship with people on Instagram. Instagram is not something, if you don't have a following, you're going to post something and be able to sell something instantly. But you've got a built-in story, right? You've got this whole set of books. Over a period of time, you could tell the story of your collection on post to Instagram, post pictures, follow other people who have an interest in comic books, make sure you use the right hashtags, all of that marketing stuff. So you have you build a story around your collection, and you mentioned that the collection is for sale, and organically you can, over time. I'm not going to say it's going to be immediately, but over time you could find a buyer for the whole set. An alternative is to kind of short circuit that and consign with people like Elite Comics 11, who have 19,000 followers currently. They charge a fee for their services, but it's a reasonable fee in my opinion. And they will list your collection on their Instagram account, exposing it to all those people. And that's a pretty huge market. I see at least 5 or 6 listings every day from Elite Comics 11 that I'm interested in. So
Yeah.
there's people out there who may find value in what you're offering. If that doesn't work, then you might want to start looking at breaking it up. I know it sounds terrible, but the keys will sell pretty easily. So maybe cluster books around the keys. Sell the story arcs as a section, so that you can sell the keys as well as the other books that are related to the key. And the last resort is sell it one by one. That's a lot of work, and the keys will sell quickly, and the rest of the books will take longer to sell, but it is possible to do it that way.
I'm going to differ from you on this. I think you're going to have a real rough road trying to sell a null set, for example, because anybody that wants a null set that really wants it has already started. They've already got some of the books. So they're going to have to suck it up and get doubles when they buy your set, when they
Yeah.
probably only really want, Venom 4 and 8 and 13, stuff like that that they missed. So
Mhm.
you're going to have a real rough road there, I think, if you try to do that as a curated type of set. Now, that's not to say it can't be done. Like if you had a Secret Wars set, that would sell immediately. If you had a Wolverine limited series set, of course that's going to sell. But storyline driven stuff like, an Infinity Gauntlet set with all the crossovers, yeah, maybe it's tough. I think your best route, especially since part 2 of your question is about the second and third prints, some of those second and third prints for that Venom run go for some pretty coin, like Venom First Host, the second
Mhm.
print of that.
Venom
So
3 third print, yeah.
yeah, I think you should break them up. I really do. I think I love where your heart is at because you're coming from the heart of a reader,
Mhm, mhm.
where I've put this together for someone who really wants to read the entire Null saga. Great. But if it's high grade, I don't think anybody's going to want to pay that much to read the Null saga. I think they really want the keys. The only time you're going to get someone to buy that entire Null set from you is if Null's announced in a movie and a dealer wants that set to flip it real quick, and you're not going to get the maximum amount that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough road if you're looking to sell the set, just because it's a lot of books. It's going to be a very narrow market for it. And like John said, it's going to be people wanting those keys and cherry picking things out of it rather than taking the whole set. Whether you go after the first, second, or third prints, I don't really think it affects the value overall of the collection, except for things like Venom 3 third print, which is
Yeah.
the first cover appearance of Null. Second and the third prints of other books in the series probably aren't going to affect it too greatly. Um, Yeah, well, good luck. Actually, if you do decide you want to sell it, contact us and let us know what methods you're trying.
I thought you were going to say, I'm interested. I'll buy it from you. Um, I do think let me add a little addendum to that. I'm not just speaking from the hip. I've tried to do this, like I've tried to sell runs of, just an example. I know it's the second time in this episode I've mentioned it, but it's true. Commandy. I've tried to do stuff like that. And I always get hit up with several things like, are you going to break this set up? I really only need this, and this. If you're going to do it that way, put the keys separately, sell them separately, and then break it into little lots. Like here's Venom 5 through 10, here's Venom 11 through 15, stuff like
Mhm.
that. They're going to move a lot quicker for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that was our first viewer mail segment of our first bonus episode. And now we've got something real special for you. Every week, we're going to have a different guest come on. Someone from the comic book community, an Instagram influencer, a vendor, a fan, and they're going to tell us their underrated book of the week. And here is our first visitor. Take it away, Magic Time Machine. And now it's time for the first guest segment on our bonus episode. We are going to bring on a different guest each week. Actually, this is the guy who gave me the idea to do this. He hit us up on Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, as you can see right there. And he said, hey, you guys ever think about having guests on and talk about their underrated books of the week? And I thought, this is a great idea that I can steal and take credit for. And that's what I'm going to do, even though he thought of it. Let's welcome David, our friend from Black Belt Comics. What's going on, David?
Hi,
David.
guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. Wasting your time.
Thanks for stealing my idea.
Is that a great idea that I had? It's the best. I'm just awesome. All right. So you know how you guys know how we do this every week. Richard and I usually pick an underrated book of the week. And now that we have this bonus episode happening, we're going to have David pick his book of the week. David, what is it?
So I picked a book that I've loved reading several times. I think that most people have let it go under the radar for way too long. And my pick is Marvel feature number 1, the first appearance of the Defenders.
Good one. Yeah. Not only the first appearance of the Defenders, but the return of Doctor Strange to his regular costume after they tried to make him a superhero with a mask.
Right. But that actually there's 3 stories in this book. And I think that happens in the 3rd story, if I'm remembering correct. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. It's Roy Thomas was the writer. The great and powerful Mr. Neil Adams did the cover of it. And I believe it was inked by Bill Everett.
Yes.
So
that was weird. Bill Everett had moved into more inking in that time. If he's not here anymore, so we can talk about him. He had a real bad alcohol problem, so he couldn't handle penciling and inking anymore. So it was like, I can ink while I'm on the sauce. Why not?
Sure, we'll go with that.
I'm glad you joined us today.
Nothing says I love comics like let's talk about the people that wrote it badly.
No, he was great.
I mean, his work was really it was underrated. I think a lot of people don't realize the extent of his work. And I also think that people don't realize how much Neil Adams did too. I think that people don't realize that Neil Adams did this cover.
Yeah. What is it Marvel feature number 1 or Defenders number 1 that was drawn by Ross Andrew and inked by Bill Everett? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, I happen to have Defenders number 1 right here.
Okay. So
I have a 7.0 white page Defenders number 1.
Oh, nice.
Which is also another underrated book.
Yes.
But they say that Defenders 1 was art by Sal Buscema and Frank Giacoia.
Okay, so Sal Buscema and Frank Giacoia. The Marvel feature was drawn by Ross Andrew and inked by Bill Everett. And if you've read this book probably as much as I have, you notice how scribbly it looks inside. The art is really kind of like Do you know the story behind that? It's actually a pretty funny story.
No, actually,
Ross Andrew was the penciler, and he did very loose layouts that looked just like that. He did it in pencil. He didn't do like finished pencils, but he never did. And Mike Esposito, his regular inker, would always clean it up and make it look really nice. Well, Bill Everett got those pages and basically said, F this guy. I can't believe he's expecting me to clean all his crap up. And he inked every single line that was on the board the way it was.
Oh, it's awesome.
That's why it looks like that. And I'll have some screen grabs here that I'll put up to show people. But there's a story behind why the art, don't judge Bill Everett by this book, is what I'm saying.
That's fair. I mean, I had no idea about that. I know Stan Lee was the editor at the time, but I had no idea about that story.
Yeah, it's pretty famous. Roy Thomas, I think, is the one that tells that story. So what is it about Marvel feature number 1 that really appeals to you? What do you think it makes it underrated?
It was interesting because, I grew up, I'm a huge Spider-Man guy. I'm working on my run, and I grew up with the X-Men. I read all the Avengers, but the combination of Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Namor was like the most outrageous, like, what was somebody thinking? And then you kind of figure out that it was the 1970s, and who knows what they were thinking or doing
or smoking.
Or yeah. And I actually really liked, you mentioned it before, where Doctor Strange comes back.
Mhm.
I really actually like the return storyline.
Yeah.
And it actually takes place before the Defenders is featured. I don't remember if it takes place before they're featured in Submariner, which is kind of their prelude.
Yeah. There's a lot of cleanup because Roy Thomas wrote Doctor Strange when it got canceled, and it was in the middle of a story about the Undying Ones, and they ended. And Roy Thomas was also writing Submariner. He was also writing Hulk at that time, so he cleaned part of it up in the Hulk, and then he cleaned the rest of it up in Submariner. So it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and I actually, I'm not a huge villain guy. I find a lot of villains kind of one dimensional. I happen to be a big fan of Baron Mordo, and I think that the actor who played him in the Doctor Strange movie did a fantastic job showing how really multifaceted that character was. And they use this character in that return storyline, and he's faking being Doctor Strange. So I really kind of gravitated to that story.
What's the second story? Is it a Submariner reprint?
I don't remember if it's a reprint, but Submariner basically has to get access or allows access. I always kind of skipped over that one. But something about ships having to gain passage and go through, and he needed permission or something like that.
I think it's a 50s Bill Everett reprint from the 50s run. So it's a great book. It's a great package. I mean, Marvel was experimenting with those 25-cent books in response to what DC was doing. Some of them took off, some of them didn't. Marvel features just a cute. Marvel features cute. It's a cute run of 11 issues of like tryouts, and 2 of the 3 things that were tried out actually graduated to their own long-running series. You had the Defenders, which ran for over 150 issues. You had the Thing team-ups, which they spun off and became Marvel 2-in-1, which ran for 100 issues. And then in the middle, you had poor little Ant-Man. Poor guy.
Yeah, Ant-Man's a character that
him gets no respect.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Mr. Douglas, nobody would care about him.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you know about Marvel feature number 1 in terms of how it does on GPA and things like that?
So a 9.8 runs roughly around like 3,000.
Wow, those square are tough.
Yeah, but and there's not a lot at that grades. You can find them relatively inexpensive around the 9.0, 9.2. I looked up a 9.0 just because I think it's a really good copy for people to get, where if you're kind of speccing a little bit, I don't know how much spec there is on the Defenders. I'd love to see them bring those 3 characters down the road together. We'll see what they do.
We need Nemo. We need Namor. That's all we need, right?
And Nemo too.
Yeah. Sorry. I meant Namor. My brain was not firing on the
Baron
all cylinders.
Nemo is on Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Where is Nemo?
Where?
Swimming around.
Finding Zemo. There's your spit.
There we go.
But a 9.0, a 90-day average was 444, and the last two sales were only a couple of days ago at 400. So, I mean, for first appearances, that's pretty relatively cheap, especially with praise going now.
51-year-old book. I mean, let's not forget that we're all of a
Wow.
certain age where it's like, oh, Defenders, that's still a semi-recent title that just died. No, it died back in 1986. And 1970 is further and further in the rearview mirror than we realize.
You know, I never really put it together like that. You know, the books that we're talking about from that age are 50 years old.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You know, that's amazing. And we are entering, you know, preservation. You know, you get these books slabbed not just because you want a graded book, because you want to preserve it.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine being 50 years old. Oh,
I can't either. God, can you? Yeah.
Oh, gross.
Don't look at me. I'm still in my 40s.
Just you wait.
This interview's over.
But yeah, good talk. Nice seeing you guys. Thanks for having me.
But seriously, I do agree with you. The Defenders, I thought there was going to be a moment when the Netflix show was announced, you know, but then you have to realize it had nothing to do with the Defenders. It was just a reusing of the name. So, you know, in terms of Marvel Studio spec, I don't know if it's ever going to be, because they kind of, you know, to be really crass, they shot their wad already by using that name for something else.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way around it, especially since they're kind of. It'll be interesting if they bring like the Luke Cage and the Jessica Jones characters that they used from the Netflix shows into the MCU of Prime, now we'll call it. Then yeah, I agree with you. But if they completely separate them, make them non-canonical, then maybe there's a shot. I mean, you know, the rumors have been that Hulk is going to be in the new She-Hulk series. And, you know, eventually, I would say we're pretty guaranteed at some point to get Namor. They've already kind of hinted at him in Endgame with the earthquake.
Yes.
Yep. I'm hoping. Got my fingers crossed. Big Namor fan.
The only thing I don't know about Namor is I think that for a while there was a dispute about the rights to the character.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of an issue that presents or doesn't present anymore. I think there was some ownership conversations about who really owned it. So I don't know.
There were a few characters from the 70s movie deals that the movie deals were done in perpetuity, which is a really crappy way to do business. Never do anything in perpetuity, people. And even if you don't produce something, you still retain the rights. I don't know if Submariner fell under that, but Marvel has negotiated their way out of a few things, like the Spider-Man canon films thing was in perpetuity, and they negotiated their way out of that. And who's going to stand up to the mouse? I mean, the mouse will crush you.
Yes. And they, you know, Disney has a history of reacquiring all these rights and licenses. So I even if someone else did own it, I could see Disney putting a big wad of money on the table and, you know, getting the rights back to make a movie.
What did they say? Money talks.
Yeah.
Thank you for the second wad reference in 10 minutes. I appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
The Defenders, David, did you ever read any more of the run of Defenders?
I did. I think I've read every issue at least 2 or 3 times.
So you have a lot of patience, because
they're not very good, to be honest.
It starts off okay. You got the Len Wein stuff where it's just straight ahead weird superheroics with 3 people who don't belong together. Then Steve Gerber comes on, and the book just goes completely bonkers, zany, almost a parody of comics, which I love. The Steve Gerber run, it's great. Then Ed Hannigan comes on, and it's kind of all over the place. And then J.M. DeMatteis, and it's about demons and the son of Satan and Hellcat. And I'm like, what is this book?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's where issue 10 or 11 it switches over to the Thing run, And those were okay. I like the thing kind of storylines, and like you said, it spun off to the Marvel team ups and the 2-in-1s.
Oh, you're talking about Marvel feature. I'm talking about Defenders.
Oh, the
Period.
Defenders.
Defenders. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I read about 5 issues of the Defenders actual run.
That's why when you said you read the whole run, I was really impressed because that's a lot to slog through.
No, wow. those weren't as good.
No. But I do highly recommend the Steve Gerber run. I believe there are essentials that have been, if you want to read it cheap, they're all available digitally, or buy them from Black Belt Comics on Instagram. It's at blackbelt_comics. There's David. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. I love being on here. I love watching your weekly suggestions of things that I forgot that I should read again and again.
You're telling me you got a full run of Quasar now.
Do you really want the truth to that?
No, but thanks for joining us.
He knows the truth.
I actually have a full run of Quasar.
Oh, do you really? Wow.
Not only do I have the full run of Quasar, I have the What If issue.
Now my heart is full.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for having me. I can go hide under a rock now.
I think this guy just earned himself a return trip sometime. Thanks again, David. We appreciate it.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Well, that was cool. A little David from Black Belt Comics. By the way, he really is a black belt.
I am not. All right, well, everyone, thanks for tuning into our second show of the week. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, and our website is bronzeandmoderngods.com. Keep up with what we're doing and see what other crazy things that John comes up with that he leads me blindly into.
Also, we're answering question after question after question each week now. So submit them. Let's hear them.
Post your questions in the comments, either Instagram, send us an IM, or post them on our YouTube video.
Oh, that's cute. You said I am.
I am an old. I'm sorry. DM.
Hey,
our AOL.
Hit us up on AOL Messenger, and we're also on the Prodigy chat boards.
And ICQ.
ICQ. Oh my Lord. All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks, everybody. We will see you Monday, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern for our regular episode. Have a great week.
Everybody stay safe.